Welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast, the podcast that explores the life-changing potential of solo travel, intentional travel, and location-independent working. Whether you're an aspiring digital nomad or simply want to boost your confidence through epic travel experiences, I'm here to motivate and inspire you to go after all your wildest dreams. I'm Jessica Grace Coleman, author, travel transformation coach, founder of Flip the Script Travel Transformation Services, and your host for the Travel Transformation Podcast. Travel changed my life. Now let's change yours. You ready? Let's go. Welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast with me, Jessica Grace Coleman, the podcast where we talk all things travel and all things transformation. Today I have a special guest on the podcast, Joahna Tupas, who is the founder of School in a Backpack. And we have a great conversation. We talk about world schooling, about her new company, School in a Backpack, and the upcoming event she's got going on. And we talk about the new book, World Schoolers, by Nomad Publishing, that she is a part of, that is coming out in December. And she shares her own magical movie moment, which we love on this podcast, of her time spent in Hawaii. I had a great time talking to Joahna, so let's get straight to it. Okay, so Joahna, welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you today?
Great. Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
No problem. Okay, so for our listeners, could you please just start with a little bit of background info about yourself, what you do, and where you are in the world today?
Awesome. Yes, this is Joahna Tupas. I am a world schooling parent. Actually, I've been a world schooling parent since my son was 5 months old in my womb.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's been to more places than I have had at his age now. I am also an educator. I have just actually finished my job as a special education teacher at the district in a Native American reservation here in the United States. I am also an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So I have just launched my company called School in a Backpack here in the US. It started as a journey, learning journey between me and my son. And so I would journal it as a blog. And then it turned into a community in 2017. And now it's here in the US. So hello.
And whereabouts in the US are you?
Yes. So I'm in Arizona.
Nice. I've been to Phoenix and Tempe. Is that how you say
yeah.
it? Those are the only two places I've been in Arizona, but yeah. I liked it, but I wasn't prepared for the intense heat when I went there.
Yes, we actually live in the northern Arizona.
Okay.
Where all the skiing and the snowboarding and all those resorts are at. Snow is here, 10 months of the year. So you should come up here.
Okay, I was going to say that sounds like somewhere I could deal with because I'm not great with heat, but I really did like the States. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you been to any other parts of the US, any other states?
Yeah, I lived in Colorado for a year because I did a study abroad year when I was in university. So I was in Boulder, which I loved. It's one of my favorite places in the world. And I've been back there a couple of times just to visit like the old campus and stuff. My favorite place I've been to a few sort of around Utah, New Mexico, and that kind of thing when I was younger with my family. But a few years ago, I did a road trip with my friends, 3 weeks around New England in the fall, like around Halloween, and we did as many Halloweeny things as we could, and as many autumnal things, and it was amazing. So yeah, I love the US.
That's cool. Well, hopefully I get to visit your country.
Yeah, have you been?
I'm hoping to do a Euro trip soon. No, I haven't.
Nice.
But hopefully I get to take my son there and we can go around, maybe visit you.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be awesome. Yay. Okay, cool. So I'm going to ask you about School in a Backpack in a second, but something you said in the intro made me go, wait, what? So you said about your son has been being world schooled since he was 5 months.
Yes.
How does that work?
Okay, so well, I used to be a consultant. I owned a multimedia arts company back in the Philippines, where I'm from. I'm Filipino. Mm-hmm. Before we moved up here. And so I was working as a marketing and communications director for a company in Sydney, Australia.
Mm.
And I was 5 months old. Oh no, I wasn't 5 months old. My son was 5 months womb old.
Uh-huh.
So on my second term of pregnancy, the company had to fly me over to do some work with them in person. And so I was just lugging around my tummy. But I would always have his books with me, his kinds of music with me, that kind of earphone that you wear,
Hmm.
just kind of like a wider one where I would put it on my tummy. So listening to classical music and different kinds of genres while I'm working. I think it's really important that even while they're in the womb, our children are in the womb, they're developing physically, they're already absorbing,
Hmm.
And so that's one of the things that I truly believe. So giving them these sensory things from the outside world while they are safely tucked into your tummy, you're kind of already educating them, so to speak.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so my son came out and he's already an eclectic. He's an audiophile. He really loves music that suits him, and that so I think that has got a lot to do with the time that he was in the movement. We were already engaging with him.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, you started him off early. That's great. Great. So,
Yes.
so how old is he now?
He's 11 now. Well, he's turning 12 in like 2 weeks.
Cool. And you've been okay, so for people who don't know the term, because I'm not a mom, and until recently I hadn't actually heard the term world schooling. Now I seem to hear it everywhere. It seems to have sort of blown up recently. But for people who don't know, what does that actually mean?
Okay, world schooling is really making the entire world, or pockets of the world, your world, physically, environmentally, the classroom, the learning environment. So you intentionally take your kids out there, and you make every opportunity as an experiential learning moment. So I can give you examples. When my son, I think he was 6. I think he was 6. Yes, when my son was 6, we went to Ilocos Norte, one of the provinces in my country. It's the exact city there was Pagudpod, and there's this Kabigan Falls. It's what it's called. It's this huge waterfalls, and you have to hike up to get to it. So my son and I, we hiked up, and that's how I taught him the five senses. So we would stop and I would have him close his eyes, and I would take his hand and we would feel some of the leaves and the grasses, and I would tell him, touch, touch. These are your hands and you touch. That's the sense of touch. Or we would stop at a stream. I would have him close his eyes and I would have him listen. What do you hear? Your ears can hear. That's the sense of hearing, so all throughout that just one hike up, about 30 minutes, we've already nailed down the five senses, because what's that, what sense are we using, what part of the body are we using? So it's every opportunity really is a learning experience. So that's basically, in a nutshell, I think, what world schooling is, at least for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because a kid who learns that way is going to remember, it's going to stick so much quicker, and they're going to remember it so much, and they're going to remember when they learned it and stuff. It's not, if you're learning everything from a textbook in a classroom, like everything melds together, or at least it did for me. And
Yeah.
yeah, I can see how your way is a lot more effective and a lot more fun as well for the child.
Yeah, so when you go back to those places, or when you visit it years after, when you're older, you kind of remember some of the memories, and
Mm.
it's part of the memory already, and it becomes more. I think learning that way makes it stick more, because you're not just teaching concepts, you're making the child experience those concepts. It becomes a part of them, so much so that they're learning so organically that
Mhm.
they don't even notice it, because it's fun. It's learning should be fun.
Exactly. I think that's the key, isn't it? That you're not even noticing that you're learning. So you're not sort of stressed out about it, or you're not thinking, oh, this is boring to start with. It
Yeah.
just happens naturally. That's great. Okay, so can you tell me a bit about school in a backpack? Because this sounds really
Right.
cool.
Okay, awesome. This is school in a backpack. Like I mentioned, when I got pregnant with, well, me and my husband got pregnant with our son, um, I switched, I was blogging
Mhm.
um, as a single person. And then in 2010, we found out that we were pregnant. And so I switched blogs and I called it the Sun and Sand blog because I really was envisioning my son to be a part of, part of nature. And
Mhm.
I love the ocean. So, I mean, who doesn't, right? And so just everything should flow organically. And so that's what I called it. And so I would just journal through blogging, sharing my pregnancy and then giving birth. And then once he came out, I said, you know what? I want to take ownership of my son's education. I believe that every parent is the primary educator of their children.
Mhm.
Teachers are very, very important because, I'm also a teacher
Mhm.
by profession at some point. And for me, the parent is partnering with the teacher in educating their child, but the parent is the one that should take ownership of their child's education until such a time that they get to gift that education to the child and the child gets to embrace it.
Mhm.
So I said, you know what? I really want to, um, for me, everything that me and my son absorb, everything that we learn, that we experience, we have this internal backpack that we carry with us everywhere. We should just store it in there. So that's when school in a backpack came about. So I switched when we started homeschooling, I switched blogs and it became now my new, I'm just telling everybody how we're learning, where we're going, and so, School and Backpack from a personal blog became a community. By 2017, we were up to 183 families
Wow.
in my country. So some of the parents would ask, "Where are you guys going? Can you give me tips and stuff like that?" And I think the thing about School in a Backpack, it's an inclusive community. It
Mhm.
doesn't isolate, your, methodologies or choices of educating their children. You can be sending your child to a brick and mortar school, but you still have your school in a backpack because that backpack is innate. It's a part of you. Every learning experience goes into that and it becomes a part of you. You bring it wherever you are. And so we have families that actually go to brick and mortar schools. We have families that are earth schooling, world schooling, homeschooling, all of those kinds of schooling. There's so many terms now, but and so from a community in 2017, we had our formal event. It's called School by the Shore, where for 3 days, one weekend, we brought a couple of families with us and we had a program, a learning program, where it's called environmental play. We use the environment to learn. So some of the things that we did is called obstacle course. So in that resort, there's this obstacle course, like the military uses it when they're training in that area, and we turn it into like an art obstacle course where there are flags and there are teams, and each team would have to go to each flag and they get to read. So you're hitting the reading and then you write about what it's requiring. You make what it's requiring before you get to the next flag. So you're actually hitting different, academic standards, but in such a different, it's provided to you in a different way and you're utilizing the environment. We also had this thing called SciShore. We were right by the shore. And so me and the facilitators, we buried some pieces under the sand. So all of the students were taught how to use a compass. Each group were given a compass. And so they knew they understood what longitude is and latitude is. And it doesn't matter what age you are, and so they're all grouped together. And so they were given pieces of paper and they had to use the compass and measurement and find all these pieces and they put it together and they were microscopes. And then we gave them slides and they looked around, they get to look under the microscopes. So they're, different kinds of standards put together, but using the environment to make the learning more meaningful. So that's School in a Backpack really is just putting together all these families that want to take ownership of their child's education, wants them to experience education And one of the things that's really important about School in the Backpack is that you're developing the character of the child.
Mm.
At the end of the day, you want a child that is independent and that is confident, that is sure of him or herself, that has a voice, that participates and contributes to society. So in 2017, I did migrate to the US. I got a job as an educator. 5 years later, School in a Backpack, I have revived it and it's now a company. So I'm pretty excited to bring back all the programs.
That's great. So congratulations for bringing it
Thank
back.
you.
You mentioned School by the Shore. So is this an annual thing now? You're doing it every year?
Well, that is the plan. We are having a School by the Shore comeback this
Mm-hmm.
2023. We had a pioneering one in 2017, and then I moved up here. So now that the School in the Backpack is now a company, we are planning to bring back School by the Shore. The first School by the Shore after 2017 will be on June and July of 2023. It will be 2 months, 5 destinations in the Philippines. The original location of the pioneering School by the Shore, which is Zambales, will be one of the 5. Pagudpod, which is the one that I mentioned with the waterfalls, will be one of the 5. That's where we're going to start, actually. It's a digital detox. It's one whole week of digital detox for families. And then we're going to Zambales, where the first School by the Shore happened. So we'll have those programs available. And then we are going to Baguio, Cordillera. We will utilize coffee farming as part of our learning. So we're going to contribute to society there. We're going to be working alongside farmers and really just get down to it and learn different concepts. And then we're going to really, I think they're famous, but Palawan. Have you heard of Palawan?
I'm not sure.
Oh my gosh, you have to. Okay, after this, you have to look it up. Palawan, Philippines, specifically El Nido and Coron.
Okay.
EL space NIDO.
Mm-hmm.
Research it and just look at the beaches. Like, oh my gosh. So we're going to El Nido, and then we're going to Palawan, and then we're going to end at Boracay. You've heard of Boracay?
No, I'm terrible. I haven't been to the Philippines. It is on my list. I want to go there, but
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you maybe you should join us.
Yeah.
So that's 2 months, 5 destinations. Again, if anybody's willing to join, you don't have to go to all 5 if you don't have. Well, you don't have to. You can choose just specific destinations. You can choose just one. We'll give you the schedule, or you can do all 5. It's really up to you and your families, but each destination has its own experiences that comes with it.
Great. So is that something that we'll be able to people can book soon, or is there a mailing list or something they can join so they can hear when it's out?
Yes. So if you go to www.schoolinthebackpack.com and the event page, it should be available by December 1.
Okay, great.
So December 1 to 4 is a traveling teachers summit. I don't know if you've heard of it. So 2022 Traveling Teachers Summit is on December 1 to 4. I am one of the presenters there as well. And so we are officially announcing, well, this is official already anyway. So we're also launching School by the Shore by December 1 through the website. So you can, you don't have to really register, but you can sign up so that we can give you the information when it's ready.
Great. Okay, brilliant. And we have a mutual acquaintance, or at least it's a virtual mutual acquaintance in my case, Sarah Tyler, founder of Nomad Publishing. So I know you've contributed to her most recent multi-authored book, which is World Schoolers. Can you tell me a bit about the book and about the part you've written specifically for it?
Okay, so World Schoolers, Innovative Parents Turning Countries into Classrooms is what the book is. I'm really hoping that you guys check it out. It's written by 22 fabulous authors. It'll be my first authoring a book, co-authoring in this case. And it's 12 different chapters. Some of them are narratives. Some of them are really exciting stories. Some of them are really informational, especially to those that are interested in world schooling, like the how-tos and stuff like that. They're all available. Like I mentioned, it's 22 chapters written by 22 authors. So they have this huge, rich, vast of experience all packed up in that book. I think I am the third chapter, and my chapter is called School in a Backpack.
Nice.
It's I have some stories there of how I started, where my roots of love for traveling came from, and also some beliefs, principles, a little bit of tips if you are a teacher in a brick and mortar, how you can. I have information on how you can incorporate concepts of world schooling into your classrooms
Mm.
within the traditional schooling system. It is possible. So those information are all in that chapter. I'm very, very excited. And the launch of the book is on December 9. And so I joined Sarah and the rest of my co-authors in inviting you guys to check out the book through Nomad Publishing.
Great. Yeah, congratulations for being in the book. That's awesome. And it sounds like you've got a really busy December coming up. So
Yeah,
busy end of the year. That's great.
that's a good thing. Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption, but I just have to tell you about this new book, which is coming soon. Intentional Travel Transformation. Boost your confidence, conquer your fears, and finally become the person you've always wanted to be, by Jessica Grace Coleman. This book takes the idea behind the Flip the Script Academy and Flip the Script Travel Transformation Services and puts it into an easy-to-digest guide to reinventing yourself and your life, including transformational stories from actual Academy members themselves. Join the Academy now at traveltransformationcoach.com/academy to have the chance to be included in this book, or sign up to the mailing list at traveltransformationcoach.com/free guide to be the first to know when it's released. You'll also get an awesome travel transformation guide, as well as tips, tricks, and hacks on how to flip the script on your life and transform through travel, which I think is a pretty great deal. And now, let's get back to the Travel Transformation Podcast.
So you mentioned that brick and mortar classrooms and things like that. So world schooling, does that always involve traveling? Because if people don't know, they might be picturing, is it basically homeschooling but traveling around, or can it just be in different countries? How much does travel have to do with it rather than sort of going out in nature? And you mentioned earth schooling as well. Is that something else?
It's another form of schooling. There's a lot of schooling, I think. Yeah. So I actually have my own term. My own term, which I mentioned in the chapter of the book, is own schooling. It's really important to take ownership of the education of your child. So, whatever method you choose, whatever term it is, the important thing is that you have ownership of your child's education until such a time that it becomes their inheritance, knowledge and wisdom and everything and all that experience bottled up into the richness of who they are becomes a part of them, and that's an inheritance that you're really gifting to them into adulthood. So earth schooling is your question, right? Okay, that's really that's using nature around you and the organic nature. So like you use sticks as toys, those kinds of things. So okay, one example maybe is when my son and I learned, when I think he was 2, and I was teaching him counting. So we used sticks and we were fishing those leaves in a body of water. So just, scooping that out and counting and, that repetition. So that's kind of, it's, the foundation of earth schooling. Yeah.
Okay. So do you travel a lot? Is that part of your world schooling?
Yes. So traveling is how do you define it? It's subjective. Traveling is subjective. So some people, they say traveling is really just, okay, we're home buddies kind of people, but just going to the national park that's nearby, or taking our kids every weekend somewhere close by, or even just a park that could be, that constitutes as traveling to that person, because traveling is such a subjective, it has such a subjective definition. In a world schooling perspective, it's really crossing borders. So one of the statements I used in the book as well is called education without borders. So really, world schooling really is opening up the whole world, because the whole world is not just a playground, which is, we hear that a lot. The world is my playground. The world is our classroom. So in that essence, it challenges the parents or the caregivers of the child to become more intentional with the traveling that they are doing. Because you can go to, like, one of the things that I did for my students in the brick and mortar school, we went to the nearby grocery store, and each group of students were given a list of items to look for. And I just wanted to say, take note that my students are exceptional students. That term was previously known or called as special education students. So they do have learning difficulties, and they have physical disabilities that make it more challenging for them. But, allowing them to navigate in that different world system or classroom. They have lists, they have to read through the list, they have to look for the items, they have to count the items, they have to make sure that the prices are right, they have to add, subtract, bringing all these academic standards into one activity is already meaningful. And, making it experiential as part of their learning makes that concept of world schooling a part of the brick and mortar way of teaching. So just, we just hopped onto the bus and went to the nearest grocery store. They were given an assignment. They had the test done, and you help them. You help these children become more confident and independent. Hey, I can do this, So I think I don't believe that it's bounded completely. It's just making sure that education does not have borders.
I love that. I love the going out to the shop and that kind of thing. Because again, it can be just so, it doesn't mean anything if you're learning maths or whatever, looking at a textbook and not applying it to real world things. And also I like shopping, so that would have been really fun for me. You sound like a fun teacher. I would have loved lessons like that, honestly.
Right. Oh, teacher, where are we going today?
Yeah, but you're right. It's like, it's such a confidence booster, especially for if kids have anxiety, or if they're not very confident in themselves, or if they've never been around a shop and had to ask for things or had to do things themselves. I can see how that would really help, a lot of children when they're younger. And I think I could have done with that when I was younger myself. So that's really cool.
I think you would enjoy one of the programs that we did have. I would partner with community establishments, and that's one of the things that's really important, especially if you are within the school system, a brick mortar traditional school system. If you're able to partner with community establishments, just the ones that are close by at least. So there are two things that we did. One of them is called career transition. So there are some periods that I would take my seniors to this establishment, and they would do some work there for 60 minutes, and then I'll pick them up. And before you know it, the year ended, and that person, mind you, like I said, they're exceptional students, special educational learning and disabilities and difficulties physically. He got a job offer.
Oh, wow.
Because he was doing so well. He found his routine in it. He found his part. You don't really know what you're contributing for the child. At the end of the day, they can have so much competence. They're learning so much competence, but if they're not confident people, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
If you're teaching confidence and you're teaching independence as the bottom line, you're basically giving them the world. So
yeah, that's so cool. I love that they had a job offer. That's amazing, because
right.
like without that class they might never have put themselves out there or even thought to go to this place, and it just never would have happened. They wouldn't have done that. So that's really, really cool. I love that. So however you think of travel, because you're right, it is so subjective, and I completely agree that you can travel half an hour away from your house and have a transformative travel experience. You don't have to go halfway around the world if you don't want to, or if you can't physically do it, or if you don't have the money or the time or whatever. So however you see travel, why do you think it can be so transformative, and how has travel transformed you personally, do you think?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think travel is not just nourishing, but it's almost, it revitalizes your, not just your mind, but also your soul. It's just, there's something about being in a new place. There's, it's, you're discovering of this place, the culture, and the surroundings and what's available there is also, you're discovering a part of yourself. I think all of us have in us a child that continues to be curious, that continues to desire to explore and discover, and that continues to want to have experiences that mold and behold them. And travel does that. Even if it's just going to the nearby lake and sitting there for an hour, just quieting yourself and taking in all these majestic surroundings around you. It has a way of revitalizing your mind and your soul, and nourish you in a way that when you come back into your world, you're just a different person. You're you. You've been renewed. I think that's a better term, and that in itself is transformative, because it's just a refreshing thing to do. And like I said, there's a child in each of us that is always curious, that is always exploring and discovering, and that always is thirsty for experiences that would mold and behold them. And so those are actually that's the belief system of School in a Backpack. We wander, we're always curious. We wander with the A, we're always exploring and discovering. And we wonder with the W, we're always experiencing, grand or small, these things that behold us. So yeah, so for me, how that's transformed me, I really love travel because it brings a form of newness. You realize that you're not this huge giant in your society or your world, that bubble. You're part of this, you're this very minuscule part of a vast universe that just completely amazes you, and it brings you back down to earth. It's such a humbling experience. So
yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, obviously there are people who are not into traveling at all and have no desire to do it, and they might never leave their hometown, and I just don't get how they can, you can't picture where you are in the world or how you relate to any of it if you have never seen outside your hometown. And I always think about that, and how travel can, everyone says travel broadens your horizons, and it's so true, but it does so much more than that in terms of how you relate to yourself and how you relate to yourself in the world. So yeah, I think that's great. And I really like the term renew you said about travel as well. I think that's such a good word to describe it. That's how I feel when when I go traveling. I've been somewhere totally different, doing something totally different to the norm. Yeah, renewed. It's a really good term.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny how like in some places you participate in all these activities, you go to all these events, and for some reason you come home and you feel spent. But when you travel, you come home and you're like, oh, I can't wait for my next one.
Yeah.
I'm like, there was a time that I didn't even unpack my luggage. Like, oh, I'll bring the same one.
Yep, been there. Okay, so I ask all my guests where their favorite place in the world is, and I usually say or three if they can't choose, but you were straight in there when I asked you with Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I've never been there, sadly. It's definitely on my bucket list. It looks so beautiful. But why is Hawaii so amazing and why do you love it so much?
Okay, so I've my country, the Philippines, is made up of 7,107 plus islands. I mean, they've identified 7,107
Wow.
islands, but there's more out there that needs to be explored and discovered. And so we just have this, we have a lot of islands, and our country is such a tropical country. It's made up of this plop of islands everywhere. And each island has their own identity. And so migrating here in the US, and I haven't been home since 2017. I miss home.
Oh.
Hawaii reminds me so much of the Philippines. It's
Mm.
the culture, like everybody's so warm and they're vibrant. Just the luau's are great. I mean, the food, the music, performances, and it's so chill. I mean, I just love how chill it is. The weather is almost similar. It's the humidity, it's rain and sunny, those kinds of weather, that climate. It just brings me back home. But I think I had this really wonderful moment. We're going through that question, right?
Yeah.
Do you want me to go through it now?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, do you have you beat me to it. Yeah, so I talk about magical movie moments because I love that idea and I think that the more you travel, the more you have and the more opportunity you have to experience them. So do you have, I know you do because you just said it, but what is your magical movie moment?
Oh my gosh, I have a lot. Each travel, each destination, and each experience just has this moment where you are just completely amazed and it leaves you speechless and you're just trying to absorb it, and the magnificence of it. But there's this particular moment at Hawaii. So we spent 32 days in Hawaii, well, 30 days in Honolulu, and then we were going to fly back through. There's a layover at Maui, but by the grace of the Almighty, our, our flight was, I think it was canceled, so I had to be rebooked by the flight people, and so they checked me in this. Oh gosh, it's this wonderful hotel where it's just the food is grown in their own garden, and they have this lawn and it's overlooking the ocean, and it's top of the hill but it's overlooking the ocean, and there's just this one chair. The movie Forrest Gump, right, where he sits in the chair and he has his box of chocolates and he's absorbing the world. This
Mhm.
one chair that there's just this one, like that kind of chair that it's a bench. Yeah. So it was the afternoon. It was the day before we were flying. So we stayed there for 2 days and we had lots of activities, and Sam and I went school in a backpacking. And so we were waiting for our bus to arrive. So they were going to arrive in an hour or two. So we were all packed up, we were checked out, and all our stuff were at the front desk. And so I went towards the back. I sat on the bench, and then my son, I was playing music. My son is audiophile, so since he was in the womb, and so he laid his head on my thighs and he fell asleep with the music playing. And it's just at that moment, everything was like movie magic. Like I have this vast expanse overlooking the ocean and the trees, and the wind is just behind me. And this soft lullaby-ish kind of song. It's by the Beatles, by the way. We're playing it's some Blackbird fly. So that was playing. It's the instrumental version, and my son was sleeping there, and I just wanted to stay there. It's wonderful. So I keep it in my heart, that moment. Yeah.
That sounds so nice. I mean, you're totally selling Hawaii to me. Not that I needed to be sold, but But that moment, that sounds like you can just imagine it a movie, like widescreen with the music sort of getting louder and the trees going. Oh my gosh, I can totally
I'm
picture
part of it. I'm part of the movie. I'm in it. I'm Forrest Gump right now.
That's amazing. Oh yeah, you painted a lovely picture there. That was so nice. Thank you. So do you have anywhere left on your sort of travel bucket list, anywhere that you'd really like to go to that you've not been to yet?
I have a lot. Like I mentioned, I want to do a Euro trip.
Yeah.
So that's one of the goals is be able to go to Europe with my son and, hit the places. I think we do have one planned in Greece pretty soon. I think in May also I'll be in I am speaking in some of the summits and conferences and tours. So I am looking forward to the one in UK.
Oh, nice.
But I guess in my bucket list ever since, well, I already checked Hawaii because that's the one since I was a kid, I had this little poster that has, the surfer girl and Hawaii, so I do want to go to Japan.
That's high on my list as well.
Oh, and South Korea too.
Oh, yes, nice. Yeah, same. Yeah, I think we've got similar bucket lists. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, there's always so many places left to go, isn't there? I don't think we'll ever run out.
Well, the world is our classroom.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so just quickly going back to the world schooling bit, do you have any tips or advice for any parents who maybe have not tried homeschooling, world schooling, anything like that, and they want to, but then they're maybe doubting their ability or they don't know how to do it, or do you have any advice for them?
Oh gosh, yes. Learning is fun. I think the best way to do it is to harness that child in you and just go out there, pick a place, or maybe if you have family members, put in places within your area. It could be as small as you want it to be. Put it in a jar, pick a place for a weekend, just go out there and explore and discover. Like I said, wander and wander. Be curious, explore and discover, and let the experience behold and mold you.
I love that. And it can be, I imagine, as fun for the parents as it is for the children.
It should be.
Yeah. If you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned schoolinAbackpack.com, is that right?
Yes.
Where else can people find out about you? Do you have social media that you'd like to plug? I'll put everything in. I'll put it in the show notes as well. But yeah, if there are any particular places people should go.
Yes, so Facebook, we do have a Facebook page, School in a Backpack. We have Instagram, School in a Backpack. But if you want to follow me, I also do have an Instagram. It's Joahna Tupas, so JANAETUPAS. I also have a YouTube channel, so we have some of our curriculum-ish. When we went virtual, I taped some of my stuff and just put it on there. So it's also JANAETUPAS, so Joahna Tupas. That's on Instagram, that's on YouTube, and then on Instagram and Facebook, it's School in a Backpack.
And is there anything else you'd like to talk about or plug or discuss before we go?
Yes.
Is there any other messages you have? Or
I did mention that we do have the 2022 Traveling Teacher Summit. That's December 1 to 4. So if you can just Google 2022 Traveling Teacher Summit, that should take you to it.
Is that a virtual online summit?
Yes, it is a 4-day virtual summit. You have amazing teachers over there. I am one of the presenters, but it's going to open your eyes to a whole new world of learning and teaching experiences. So if you're an educator or parents that is curious about world schooling, homeschooling, unschooling, hat schooling, earth schooling, road schooling, all these schooling, and even if your child is attending a brick and mortar traditional school, there's just a lot of resources. There's also the World Schoolers book. Again, it's nomadpublishing.nm. It will be launched. It'll be out by December 9th. So you can go ahead and go to that website and make your order. It'll be really cool. We have a digital version and we have a paperback version. And then if you are interested to join the School by the Shore comeback in 2023, 2 months, 5 destinations in the Philippines, please visit schoolinthebackpack.com. And yeah, make sure to educate without borders. So
awesome. I love that you've got so many things going on and they all sound really like fun, like, which is, like you say, is what learning should all be about. So that's great. Okay, so thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot, so you did a great job. If that's what if that's the message you're spreading, so thank you so much. And good luck with the book and everything else you're doing, because it all sounds really great. And I'm not a parent, but I'm definitely going to be reading that book because it sounds so cool, the way that I think it's great how you have perspectives from so many different people, I imagine, from different backgrounds and different countries and, you know, different things like that. So I think even if you're not a parent, you'll be able to learn a lot. And yeah, so everyone look out for that. I'll put a link in the show notes as well. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Jessica. It's been awesome.
Yeah, until next time, bye everyone. And until next week, I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Travel Transformation Podcast with me, Jessica Grace Coleman. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review, and spread the word if you have friends or family who also want to transform through travel. For a chance of winning one of my books in ebook form, please review this podcast on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot to info@traveltransformationcoach.com or @traveltransformationcoach on Instagram. I'll be picking a new winner each month, and you can choose between any of my non-fiction titles, including Write Your Life, Write Your Year, and Intentional Travel Transformation. You can find out more about me at traveltransformationcoach.com, and until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.